All right, so today we're doing a deep dive into Binance.
Okay, sounds good.
And, it's huge EE, right? We're talking nearly 190 million users globally.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
It is. I mean, that's like everyone in Australia and then some. That's according to like this Forbes article I was looking at.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But so before anyone listening just like rushes off to Binance right now to sign up, we're going to figure out, is it the right move for you?
Yeah.
Personally?
Yeah, and that's key because, I mean, no one can deny that Binance is a big player in this. Like the Forbes article said, they're a big deal. But they've also had some bumps in the road when it comes to regulations.
Yeah, for sure.
So, got to look at both sides.
Yeah, you don't want to just get like, caught up in all the hype and then suddenly it's like, oh, wait, like they had their AFSL license canceled in Australia.
Yeah, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and just to clarify for our listeners, AFSL stands for Australian Financial Services License.
Right.
Which is kind of important if you're going to like actually operate here.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy to gloss over those regulatory issues when you see, headlines about how many users they have. But those things are really important to be aware of, for anyone who's thinking of using Binance.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, they've also had those fines in the U.S. too, right?
Yeah, they have. And, look, Binance has definitely faced challenges, but I will say they are actively working to comply with these regulations.
Okay, good.
It's an ongoing process, for the whole crypto space, really.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something to be aware of.
For sure. But on a more like positive note, Binance has over 500 cryptocurrencies available.
That's a lot to choose from.
It is. And they have instant AUD deposits. And then on top of that, they have trading fees starting at 0.1%, which honestly sounds pretty darn good.
It does sound good. And, you touched on something really important there with the 500 cryptocurrencies.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's not just about having a lot of choices.
Yeah.
It's about diversification.
Okay, so tell us, why is diversification so important?
So imagine you're at a buffet, right?
Oh, yeah, I like where this is going.
You're not going to just load up your plate with mashed potatoes, are you?
Well, maybe.
Okay, maybe a little.
Yeah.
But you're going to want to try other things too, right? Get a taste of everything. Diversifying your investments is kind of like that. You're spreading your money across different assets to manage your risk.
Mm-hmm. So if one crashes and burns, you're not,
Exactly. You've got other things to balance it out.
You're not putting all your eggs in one basket, basically.
That's the gist of it.
Uh-huh.
And that's why it's so crucial, especially for someone who's new to crypto, to think about their risk tolerance.
Yeah. How comfortable are you with the ups and downs? Because let's be real, crypto can be a roller coaster.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
So you've got to figure out what kind of portfolio are you aiming for? How much risk can you stomach?
Right, because Binance might be offering the whole buffet, but you still got to decide what you want to put on your plate. You can't just pile everything on there.
Exactly. It's about making those informed decisions based on your own personal goals and risk appetite.
So we've established there's a lot of good stuff Binance has going on, but there are also those regulatory concerns.
Right. And those are definitely things we need to look at a little more in depth.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to get excited about all the features and the benefits, but you have to know about the risks too, right?
For sure.
Especially with something as new and constantly changing as cryptocurrency.
Okay, so let's unpack those a little bit. What are the risks that people need to be aware of? So we've talked about all the positives, right? Like diversification, low fees, hundreds of crypto options to pick from. But let's not forget, the Forbes article also mentioned some downsides, those regulatory issues, for example, and possibly a bit of a tricky interface for beginners. I'd imagine that's got to be on people's minds, right?
For sure. And it's good to be cautious. Binance has definitely been under the microscope, but you also got to remember, the whole crypto world is still kind of figuring out the rules as they go, like trying to write the rule book while the game's being played.
Okay, so then how does that affect someone who's like thinking, maybe Binance, like how does that actually play out?
Well, it means don't just take one article as, the be all and end all, even a good one like that Forbes piece.
Yeah.
Do your research. See what other sources are saying, especially about how Binance is handling these regulations. But most importantly, figure out what those regulations mean for you specifically as an Aussie user.
Good point. And on that note, the Forbes article mentions something called a Say You insurance fund. Have you heard of this? Is it like a safety net? What's the deal with that?
Good question. See, you're already thinking the right way. It stands for Secure Asset Fund for Users. Basically, it's supposed to protect a chunk of user funds if, like worst case scenario, there's a hack. So Think of it as an insurance policy for the entire platform.
Okay, so not a foolproof guarantee, but at least like an extra layer of, I don't know, reassurance.
Exactly. But security is just one thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about what it's actually like to use Binance. The article mentioned opening an account is pretty simple.
Yeah.
But then,
Then you're hit with like the whole shebang, right?
yeah, all those cryptos. It's a lot.
It can be exciting and completely overwhelming. I mean, where do you even start?
Well, that's where those diversification strategies come in. Remember we were talking about that?
Yeah, the buffet.
Exactly. Luckily, Binance has some stuff to make it a bit less intimidating. They've got that mobile app with the light mode.
I feel like light is a good word for it.
Yeah, it's a much simpler layout. Great for beginners who aren't ready for the full-on experience just yet.
Yeah, like dipping your toes in the water before you do a cannonball, right?
That's a good way to put it.
All right, I like that. But for those who are ready to cannonball in, then what? Do you just like, I don't know, throw a dart at a board of cryptos and hope for the best?
No. Don't do that. Remember what we said. Knowledge is power. The article mentioned something called the Auto Invest Plan, which could be good for someone who wants to get started but maybe isn't ready to be making constant trades.
Right. Tell me more about this auto invest plan.
Basically, you just set it up so you're investing a certain amount on a regular schedule, and Binance does the rest.
Oh, okay.
Automatically spreads your investment across different cryptos based on the plan you choose. It's basically investing on autopilot.
Interesting. Okay, so even if you're not a super experienced trader, there are options, which I think is cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Binance is trying to, cater to everyone from total newbies to those hardcore traders.
Yeah.
And then for the people who are comfortable with a little more risk, a little more, I don't know, maybe complexity, there's the BNB Vault.
Okay, before we go any further, can we break down what the BNB Vault even is? Because that name does not sound beginner friendly.
You're telling me. It sounds very serious, right?
Yeah.
To simplify it, it's kind of like a high-yield savings account, but it's for Binance's own cryptocurrency, BNB. So it's supposed to maximize what you could potentially earn by automatically putting your BNB to work in different ways.
Okay. Sounds fancy, but I'm guessing, as with any investment, there's a but coming. What's the catch? Right? There's always a catch. It's like that saying, you got to spend money to make money. But with crypto, it feels more like you got to be okay with risk to maybe see big rewards. And speaking of risk, even with this deep dive, I feel like we're just scratching the surface of Binance, aren't we?
We are. I mean, we've covered a lot of the basics, but there's always more to learn, right? More features, more ins and outs, and most importantly, how all of it connects back to your own, your own personal finance goals.
Which, actually, that's a perfect transition to my next thought. So for the listener who's been hanging on every word, maybe taking notes even, and maybe feeling a little overwhelmed right now, is Binance the right move? What's the takeaway here?
The honest answer is it depends. There's no one size fits all. It goes back to what we were talking about before, risk tolerance, investment goals, and whether you just, vibe with Binance and how it works.
Yeah. It's totally valid to say, Binance sounds really cool, but I'm going to go dip my toes in the water somewhere else first.
Absolutely. It's like you wouldn't learn to ride a bike on a mountain trail, right? Start with the flat surface, get comfortable, then see where you want to go.
Ooh, I like that analogy. Start slow, build your confidence. Okay, but let's say someone is ready for Binance. They're all about that diversification life. What's the one golden nugget of advice you'd give them? The one thing to remember?
Honestly, don't just take our word for it, or anyone's really. Do your own research. Binance has all those options, which is fantastic, but actually read up on the different cryptos, figure out their potential, their risks, be an informed investor.
There you go. Knowledge is power. Well, on that note, another deep dive comes to a close. Hopefully you're walking away not just informed about Binance, but empowered to make those smart financial choices, the best ones for you. And until next time, keep that curiosity going. Keep learning.